Hi there, Andre here from Peak Motorcycles. I'm here at EICMA 2023. As you can see me behind me, I'm at the Fantic stand. Now, Fantic had their press conference on the Monday before the show started, so I think they've already done all their announcements. It's kind of hectic on Royal Enfield behind me, so I thought I'd take this time just to have a quick look around here and show you what they have. There's, I think, 3 new models that people are most likely to be interested in, which is the new XC300 two-stroke, the XCF 310 that goes with it, sort of fits between their 250 and the 450. And we also have an electric super motard. Now, I will do you a quick look around the stand, but I think in terms of being able to talk with any authority on their competition bikes, whether that be track bikes or the motocross bikes, I think it's kind of limited. So anyway, I will show you the trail bikes and let you know what I think. So I'm going to start down at the Caballero end of the stand, where they've got their sort of, I guess, their road bikes. They look sort of scramblerish, kind of retro. Here we have the 125 followed by the 500, which is a slightly familiar engine. It's the same Zongshen 450 that happens to be in my Cove, although it's just with a single overhead cam head. Here's this Caballero 700, which honestly I haven't seen that many of them around. I thought I would have seen more. So this has got the same engine as the Yamaha Tenere 700. They did show them last year at the show, but I've not seen many of them out on the roads. Now, it's 175 kilos without fuel, so you know, not the lightest of bikes, but for a road bike, I think that's actually pretty good. You know, it's got that tried and tested Yamaha engine in it. Here we have another one that's kind of been set up for touring with the luggage on it, including the tank bag. It's not massive. I mean, it does. They look kind of small on the back there, but I guess they'd carry enough stuff for a weekend away, and certainly that bag on the top is probably a bit more useful. They also have the 700 in the red colourway, another 500 and a 125. Now what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to come around here and show you this new electric super motard, which looks kind of interesting. This is the e-motard concept, so it's not a bike that you can buy, but I guess they've taken what they know about making enduro bikes and trail bikes and put that into an e-bike frame. Yeah, without riding it, you never really know, but it certainly looks like they're experimenting with things and maybe seeing what might actually work. I can show you a close-up, but really, you know, on an e-bike there's not a lot to see, and when it's a concept, well, not really sure what that tells you. Now we're into maybe what people are a bit more interested in. So this is the new Fantic XCF 310s. This is a 4-stroke trail bike. It's got a lovely polished aluminium swing arm down there. I believe the engine is from a Yamaha, modified in some way, but again, I'm sure someone who's more familiar will be able to tell me all about that. So yeah, I think these look kind of good. They are priced a fair bit more than the 250 was. I've actually only seen draft pricing for the 300, but if you take a look at this, I mean, it's very easy to get to. Looks really nicely finished. Yeah, it's simple, but then I don't think it really needs anything more than that. And certainly on the 300, which I'll show you in a minute, it has selectable maps from the bars. So in terms of having it as a trail bike, which is probably what it would do for me, yeah, having that option to select is certainly a bonus. So this is the XCF 250. This is, I guess, the latest version of the existing model. They've been out in the UK for a while. I test rode an earlier version, I think, was it last year or the year before? I think they look great. I think they're probably they were the closest competitor to the CRF 300. Yeah, never seemed to see that many of them around, but when I did, people always were just extolling the virtues of how light they were by comparison. I think they were about £6,000, something like that. This is the new Fantic XC300. This is this fuel-injected 2-stroke trail bike. Now, for those of you that are more familiar maybe with Yamaha's range, maybe some of this will be more familiar to you. I must admit, I am not. However, I know that these are going to retail somewhere between, I think, £10,000 and £11,000 in the UK, so they're not exactly cheap, but nevertheless, they look beautifully finished. You know, it's actually a proper competition bike, rather than things like the XCF 250s, which I think were very much a sort of dual sport trail bike. You know, even just lots of lovely features like that, like the Arrow exhaust on the back there. Now I know that this bike does come with switchable maps from up there on the handlebars, which, you know, for me, you know, if you're going to have one of these bikes as a trail bike, to be able to switch between sort of something a bit more grunty for actually riding the trails and something a bit more straightforward for just getting there and back, then it seems like the perfect compromise. There's a few things which I noticed, which are these like foot pegs, which are quite sort of squat almost. You know, they're nice and wide front to back, but they're just not very long. They don't stick out very far. I'm sure that saves weight. I think certainly this probably can be road registered. It does have a number plate hanger on the back. Can I see under there? Can I see who does the suspension? I can't, but I'll see if I can get you a spec sheet, and I'll put a link in the description. And then just the very last thing to show you is just this very down to the front wheel, that sort of wavy disc, and an unbranded front caliper. I do wonder who makes that. Anyway, hopefully that gives you a bit of an idea of what this XC300 is all about. Fantic also have this side to their stand where they have a lot of electric scooters, sort of electric mobility, even sort of bicycles and kind of halfway bikes. Yeah, including some very fancy looking mountain bikes, e-mountain bikes. I know these things go for a price, and I see quite a few of them around the Peak District. I must admit, for the lanes that have been closed, where motorcycles are no longer allowed to go, but these are, I think it certainly is quite tempting. They do have quite a big section here with their sort of competition bikes. Yeah, I think these are actually sort of real bikes that some of their racers have used. I won't dwell on that particularly, mainly because I don't know enough about them to tell you anything useful. What I can do is give you a closer look at their XCF Rally 450. I think these were about 15,000 euros, something like that. I'm sure someone will correct me if I'm wrong, for the standard. And if you wanted the competition version that came sort of ready to go, as this one does with a road book and everything else, and I think it's closer to 20 something, 23 maybe. You know, really nicely spec'd. And I think when they first came out, comparing this to something like the KTM 450 RR, it was half the price and certainly quite compelling. I think Mr. Picho entered one in the Dakar, was it 2 years ago? And yeah, really tidy bike. I must admit, for someone like me who's never going to get the most out of it, even the price that this comes at is still probably a little bit too high, and the Cove seemed to be a better compromise for me. Right then, that is a very quick look at what Fantic have to offer here at EICMA. I hope that's been interesting and useful. If it has, please check out my other content from the show. If you have any questions, put them in the comments. I will try and answer them as best I can.